Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends, our wonderful friends from Hy-Vee and Toys and Ford. And don't forget to check out the Swag Cave, the residence branding company Swag Cave. That link is in the podcast description. Also, don't forget, if you could, follow and subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, like Apple or Spotify. Also up on YouTube, where we got a bunch of stuff going on YouTube. The podcast is up there, but we got the Scotty Sportsman. We've got the Green and Gold Tailgate Talk show up there, too, plus live video feeds of the morning show, the Dan Casper Show. A lot of stuff on the YouTube page. Don't forget to follow that page over there as well, if you don't mind. And plus, unlike Apple and Spotify, if you could, because this is how the internet works, give us a 5-star rating and write up a nice review on Apple. That helps other people find the Man Cave Podcast. Okay, it takes you maybe less than a minute. All right, that's it. If you just do the star ratings, put it 5, it takes 2 seconds. All right, did do the plug there. But hopefully you can help us out there. This episode of the podcast, we're going to talk some football. Specifically, we're going to talk some Packers football. With the Pack picking up a 34-13 victory, 34-13 victory yesterday against the Cardinals, and which is the I think it's fair to say the most complete game, the most the game where every coach wants their team to play 4 full quarters, right? Full 4 quarters of almost perfect football, and it's not perfect, but you get the gist and such. And that was probably the Packers' most complete game in their very early young season, 6 weeks into this season. But Jordan Love, let's start off with the offense. Let's talk a little bit about the offense here to begin our breakdown this morning with this W. I think it's fair to say, too, Jordan Love is looking a little bit more comfortable each week. I think probably comfortable, mate. I don't know if that's the right word. Maybe more healthy. We saw him scrambling a little bit more. Knees feeling good, maybe knocking off some of that rust since he missed, weeks 2 and 3. Played 1 drive in the preseason, so maybe kind of getting in that rhythm, kind of getting in that flow. But Love was 22 of 32, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns for Jordan Love. The 1 interception, which I don't fault him for the interception. Bull Melton slips. And that's where it was going to, and it turns into an interception. But yesterday too, players with multiple 4 or more passing touchdowns this season, 1. Jordan Love so far this year. So his quarterback rating 119.5, sacked 0 times. We talked about it last week about the offensive line, Packers offensive line, and going up against the Cardinals team that didn't really have a boatload of sacks. I mean, sacks have been kind of the talking point for the Packers and wanting more in terms of the Packers and such, but the Cardinals had fewer sacks, and so this was an opportunity again for the offensive line to keep Jordan Love clean and comfortable in the pocket. There's a few times. I know Matt LaFleur said after the game yesterday that one of his throws to Dobbs, I think it was the first one, he had enough time back there to bake a pizza. So, I mean, credit to the offensive line. He had Jordan Morgan coming back and playing some meaningful snaps as well. So, good to see that. But I think, if we start at the quarterback position, Jordan Love definitely looked, whether you want to say more comfortable or healthier, that sort of thing. He looked like the Jordan Love I think that we were all kind of wanting to see, expecting to see for the most part of the season. The Packers too. I mean, you look at time of possession. They dominated yesterday in time of possession, 36 minutes compared to just 23 minutes from the Cardinals. Again, they win the turnover battle. It was all fumbles. I mean, 3 fumbles lost by the Cardinals. So no interceptions from Kyler Murray, but it was But it was the fumbles. Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander getting some and such. Really quick, back to Jordan Love. I wanted to make a note of this too, and I thought this was interesting. And it could have just been one of those weeks. You probably chalk it up to just one of those off weeks for the Cardinals and such. But beginning part of the game, Jordan Love was having some dang success on that hard count. He was having some darn good success in that hard count, getting the Cardinals to jump, getting them in that neutral zone. It's good to see that the tradition of the hard count is still continuing at that quarterback position for the Green Bay Packers. We know Favre was good at it. We know Rodgers was excellent at it. It was a good day yesterday from Jordan Love in that hard count department. But the Packers, taking advantage of Cardinals' penalties. Cardinals came in as the least penalized team in the league, and they struggled. They really struggled at that point. And Packers taking advantage of it, getting extended drives and all that too. So Josh Jacobs, when we look at it, it was another week going up against a defense that was not good at stopping the run. And maybe for fantasy football owners out there, Josh Jacobs leaving a little bit left to be desired, but 18 carries, 62 yards, good for a 3.4 average. Manuel Wilson, though, 7 carries for 54 yards. Even had Chris Brooks getting in on the action, 4 carries for 21 yards. Bo Melton had a couple carries. Then we factor in Jordan Love's 5 carries over there. Overall, Packers ran the ball 38 times for $179, 179 yards on the ground. And Jordan Love spreading the ball out to his receivers. Watson making his comeback, getting back in the lineup, 3 catches for 68 on 4 targets, including a touchdown. We had Romeo Doubs, 3 catches for 49 for a couple touchdowns. Jane Reed, 6 catches for a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks left the game early due to a shoulder injury. But so it was kind of a quiet night for Tucker Kraft, too. Just 2 catches for 13 yards there. But Jordan Love getting it out to his wide receivers in this game, both Watson, Doubs, and Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed targeted 6 times with 6 catches in the game yesterday too. So overall, offensively, efficient. It was efficient. It was solid. Yeah, sure, we probably want a little bit more from the running game when you're going up against a defense that has really struggled to stop the run this year, like the Cardinals. And that's, you look at one thing, you look at the Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, back-to-back weeks, 2 defenses that at least at the beginning of the season have really struggled at stopping the run. The Packers, they don't have one guy that ran for over 100 yards, but when you look at it, from a total standpoint, $179 on the ground that the Packers offense was able to that they were able to put up against the Rams last week. On the ground, Green Bay able to put up 126 on the ground. So it was kind of a team. It was a kind of a collective effort in that department. Defensively, the Packers, Kyler Murray was 22 of 32 for 214 yards and 1 touchdown. Quarterback rating of a 97.7. Got to a little bit of a slow start. Kind of settled in after that. But Green Bay was locking down the running game. Trey Benson, just 5 carries, 26. Connor, the big bruising back, 7 carries for 24 yards. I know a lot of it has to deal with Green Bay jumping out to a 24-0 lead, and it kind of takes the running out of the game plan there. But holding James Conner to 24 yards and 7 carries, Trey Benson for 5 carries to 26 yards. But how about this one? Kyler Murray, 7 carries for 14 yards. We knew that was going to be one of the keys to this game, was could they contain Kyler Murray? And Green Bay did that. This was the second lowest rushing yards from Kyler Murray this season. The only time that was lower, he had 1 carry for 3 yards against Washington back on the 29th. But to compare it from last week, Kyler Murray had 7 carries, the same amount of carries as he did yesterday. But against the 49ers, he had 83 yards rushing. 50 came on 1 carry. Yesterday, just 14 yards on 7 carries, with the longest being 5. He didn't break that Packers defense. He didn't have any of those demoralizing, big runs to extend drives or to get first downs or even touchdowns over there. Packers defense, again, with a dang solid job of containing a mobile quarterback, a quarterback who can beat you with their legs. And you look at, they did it against Jalen Hurts. They did it against Anthony Richardson. They did it against Kyler Murray. Packers have been pretty darn solid going up against quarterbacks that are mobile, that aren't afraid to pull the ball down and run and scamper around. So you look at kind of a trend right now. I think for a lot of Packers fans, they're probably saying about time, because I'm sure when we talk about mobile quarterbacks and running quarterbacks going up against the Packers, we've got visions of a bunch of different quarterbacks just running all over the place on us, right? We've got those visions. We've got those flashbacks over there. But it was a darn good job from that defense front. And there was one play in particular that kind of highlighted that too. I want to give a shout out. I want to give a tip of the cap. It was a play that's not going to show up in the stat sheets, but it was earlier on in the game, and there was a scramble. They got Kyler Murray outside the pocket, and he was going towards the sideline, and Carl Brooks did this play where he went to a certain point on the field. Instead of trying just to chase Kyler Murray, because we know Kyler Murray is going to beat him in a foot race, instead of chasing him, Carl Brooks kind of ran horizontal to the or parallel to the sideline. Got to a point at that sideline where he got in front of Kyler Murray. Instead of chasing him, he kind of ran right to the sideline, got in front of him. That caused Kyler Murray to stop, which allowed Rashawn Gary to get over there and get a hit on him. So instead of, again, Brooks trying to get into a little chase route with Kyler Murray, because we know Kyler Murray, if he can get you, if he can get by you, I mean, especially a defensive lineman, he's going to beat him. I thought it was a really smart heads-up play from Carl Brooks, that instead of trying to chase Kyler Murray, he ran to a certain point. Now, I don't know if this was coached, I don't know if this was talked about, or if this was just a Carl Brooks move, but he ran to that certain point to get in front of Kyler Murray. And you can see it on the replay. It's like he gets there and he just stops. It was like he had that in mind. Again, I don't know if that was a coaching thing or if that was, but he gets there and he just kind of stops. It was almost like a basketball defensive stance almost a little bit. He gets there and he stops. And it forces Murray to stop. Rashawn Gary is able to get a hit on him, but, incomplete pass at that point. It was just, again, disciplined, smart rushing, going after Kyler Murray. And you look at it, quarterback hits, just one. There was just one quarterback hit, and that was Rashawn Gary. No sacks. One quarterback hit, no sacks. So if you're looking at the box score and you're trying to box score scout this game, yeah, it's not going to show you that Green Bay was able to get after Kyler Murray a lot. But they were able to contain him. And there was a few times, too, where he's running around and he had to throw the ball away. But not allowing Kyler Murray to beat you with his legs. They didn't allow that. And you got to give a ton of credit to that group overall. I mean, Evan Williams, too. There's two rookies from this defensive side that I want to tip our caps to. One, Evan Williams. You want to talk about containing Kyler Murray, too? He also had a fantastic read on Kyler Murray. It was a read option. And he read it perfectly, but it was a read option, and instead of going and biting towards the running back, trust his teammates. At that point, it was Lucas Van Ness. It's like, okay, I know, my teammate, Lucas has got that guy. I stay in my spot, and I don't allow Kyler Murray to get to the edge and pick up, some big-time yardage using his legs. He stayed in his spot, and he got the TFL, the tackle for loss, against Kyler Murray. One-on-one. One-on-one against Kyler Murray. A lot of times, Kyler Murray will win those one-on-one matchups. But Evan Williams doing his job, staying in that spot and playing that contain. It was awesome. And he made a couple big plays in this game. This rookie, it's still a head scratcher to say why he didn't play a single snap in week 1 against Philadelphia when he was he was kind of the talk of training camp and preseason, and now all he is he's making some plays right now. And it was interesting to see kind of a rotation that Jeff Hafley was using in his secondary, in his defense. Pre-game warm-ups, and we saw it on a few snaps there too in the game, but it was Jair and it was Keyshawn as the outside corners. Bullard was playing slot nickel corner, then you had Evan Williams in the back with Xavier McKinney. But we also saw points of Carrington and Eric Stokes in the game. It's like 5 positions, and they were rotating 7 guys into there. So Hafley utilizing different players, different people in different types of packages and such. But Evan Williams is playing to where you got to keep that man on the field. You got to keep him on the field right now for how well he is playing. But another rookie I want to give a shout out to is Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper, he was 3rd on the team in total tackles. In fact, when you look at the team leaders in tackles, you had Quay Walker, who had 11. Rookie Javon Bullard had 8. Edgerrin Cooper had 8. Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams had 4. That's a couple rookies. That's 3 rookies that I mentioned in there. But Edgerrin Cooper, did he have a sack? No. Did he have any TFLs, tackles for losses? No. But you watch his play, and you watch his speed and his reaction time. And he just seems right now, and I know it's only a few games in, but right now he just seems almost the most natural linebacker, if that makes sense. Maybe the best tackling linebacker on this team. His reaction time, how he wraps up guys. It felt like if Edgerrin Cooper's got his arms around you, if he's got you, you ain't going anywhere. He's going to get you down. He's going to take you down. And there was a couple plays like that from Cooper yesterday. Again, were they splashy plays? Were they sexy plays that are going to make top 5 highlights? Did he get any sacks? No. But it just felt like he was pretty darn solid. And he keeps every week, it feels like he's doing just a little bit more each week to be like, okay, I can see that speed now. I can see that reaction time from Edgerrin Cooper kind of standing out. So I thought he'd had a solid game. Evan Williams had a solid game on the defensive front there. Evan Williams had the punch out too, right? On one of those fumbles. Packers able to get 3 fumble recoveries yesterday. Kenny Clark, Jair, Carl Brooks getting after the ball. It's like that's the philosophy. That's one of the mindsets that Jeff Hafley wants. Everybody flows to the football. Get after that football. So Packers defense again winning the turnover battle in yesterday's game. It was a solid game. It was a solid game. And I know there's a lot of, so Romeo Doubs, and then, on social media there was talk about it and such, and anybody watching the game probably noticed it too. Romeo Doubs sure looked like he was emotionless. And I don't want to speculate what's going on or anything like that, but everybody could tell. He would catch a touchdown, he'd hand the ball off to the official, would do a little celebration. The first one was kind of a group hug, second one he did a little bit of a dance there with Christian Watson, but then kind of just shook hands and high-fived or whatever. But you could see on his face, pretty emotionless. And I think everybody noticed it. For what it's worth, for anybody trying to speculate or say there's more drama going on, he was asked about it after the game yesterday. And this was from Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic. Dobbs was asked after the game about his stoicism and if he's happy. That's when he actually cracked a smile. Said, "I'm good, man. I'm just ready to be a ball player, trying to move past whatever has happened and just get back to our winning culture like Green Bay has always been. I was able to get back to my regular self. Despite what was going on, I just had to do the best of my ability, just limiting those distractions, and ultimately it played off." Dobbs downplayed the significance of his performance post-game in the context of responding to his suspension, according to Matt Schneidman. He was happy to put points on the board. He also wants to move forward from whatever happened to cause it. So everybody noticed it. Then, you had people out there trying to come up with theories and different things. We don't know. I don't want to pretend like we know. But I thought it was interesting. And I'm glad that reporters asked him about it because it was, cameras on him and, you're seeing him not smile even after a touchdown catch and all that. Good to see that he actually cracked a smile afterwards. We'll see. I'm sure we'll continue to monitor it as the season goes and, week by week and such. But if there was one downer from the game yesterday, and it's kind of becoming a broken record, but if there was one down part in the game yesterday, I think we would all say it's the kicking again. It's Brayden Narveson. Missed another field goal yesterday. He was 2 of 3. Did hit all of his extra points, but another miss. That's 5 on the season. 5 on the season so far. His miss yesterday coming in that 40 to 49 yard range. And again, if you were watching the game on TV, you probably saw the reaction from Matt LaFleur after the miss. For what it's worth, Matt LaFleur said after the game still has confidence in him. And they talked about how Matt LaFleur said that, Narveson had a really good week of practice, but again, it was pregame warm-ups. He was really struggling in pregame warm-ups. And I know it was raining, and there was a weird wind over there, but that's the second week now. That's the second week, and it was against Minnesota, I believe. I think it was Minnesota. Yeah, I think it was Minnesota when Kevin Harlan was on the call. Where Kevin Harlan talked about pregame where Narveson was really struggling pregame. And so that's the second time in 6 weeks we have heard of Brayden Narveson struggling in pregame warm-ups. And it goes back, the first thing I think of when it goes back to that is the whole winds inside Lambeau Field. We've heard Mason Crosby talk about how the winds in Lambeau Field can be deceiving. That necessarily you can't just necessarily look at the flags on the goalposts because there's swirling winds inside that bowl. Where you feel it on one end of the stadium or on one side of the stadium could be completely different in another part or down on the field. So it's really kind of misleading in a lot of points. And is this something that Narveson is still trying to figure out, still trying to adjust? But I thought it was, and I know the conditions weren't the greatest. It was rainy and there was some wind going on there. But it's the second time in 6 weeks we've heard somebody in the broadcast note how much he was struggling in pregame warmups. And I think the last thing that any fan, anybody in the Packers organization, team-wise, teammates, coaches, they don't want to get in a position where it's a 48-yarder to tie or win the game. Maybe especially if it's at Lambeau at this point. You'd like your kicker, You would like your kicker to have that advantage inside Lambeau Field, to know about the swirling winds within Lambeau Field, to know about, the nuances or how, the inside info, if you will. Aaron Rodgers has even talked about how misleading the wind is inside that stadium. So you'd like it if your own kicker had that insight, had that inside info, and right now maybe that's one of the reasons that he's kind of struggling here a little bit. Whether he's trying to overcompensate for, whether it's not factoring it, I'm not quite sure. And I doubt this would ever happen. But I guess never say never. But I could say it because I'm a fan. Would Mason ever want to come back and be a consultant to help out some of the kickers and explain some of the wind issues in Lambeau Field? To kind of explain, it's almost like a golfing mentality. Mason's a heck of a golfer, too. But I don't know if that could ever be an option. If Mason would ever even consider that or do that or what. But I don't know. I think it'd be beneficial to bring somebody in who's had success, has had to do it for a long time in that stadium, pick their brain, and maybe get some insight. I don't know. Just something that crossed my mind yesterday, too. But that's probably the one, if you had to pick one down part from the game yesterday, it was the kicking, right? It was the kicking. But overall, solid, complete game. Offensively, defensively. Jordan Love looked like the Jordan Love from last year in that second half. The Jordan Love we expect every single week. I want to know, though, now we're 6 weeks into this thing. And this Packers defense, in the second half, in the last 4 weeks, in the second half, the Packers defense has really, really clammed down. 3 points. Was it 3 points yesterday? 6 points yesterday, excuse me. 6 points yesterday. No, 3 points. Yeah, I was right. 3 points. 3 points because it was 6 points in week 5. 3 points in week 4. 7 in week 3. And that's something we've talked about for the last couple weeks now. And now it maybe is becoming a trend here. I want to ask this question for you Packers fans to think about for a little bit. If it gets to the point where your offense puts you up by 2, 5, whatever situation, where the opponent needs a field goal to win it or a touchdown to win it, how much do you trust that defense to hold that lead for you? I know it's only 6 weeks in, okay? I know it's only 6 weeks in, but at some point we got to stop saying, well, it's only this amount of games, it's only this amount of weeks in. How much do you trust that defense from what you've seen so far? And knowing how well they've played in the second half. Honestly, I think for me personally, I feel better about them holding a team out of the end zone than maybe getting into field goal range. And that's just, that's playing the math, right? It's a shorter field to get into field goal range than it is to get the touchdown. But maybe the best way to sum up my confidence in the defense so far that we have seen through the first 6 weeks of the season is I feel better about their chances of holding a team out of a game-winning a touchdown or maybe even a field goal than I have in years past. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's I do feel a little bit better. I'm not super confident yet because I want to see a little bit more, but I do feel better than I have in years past. And as somebody said too, that I read somewhere, one of our listeners actually mentioned, feel more confident in this defense getting us back into games because of the turnovers. And I think that makes a lot of sense, and I would agree with that too. All right, that is going to do it for us on this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. Don't forget to check out that Swag Cave. We got new items up there. The Residence Branding Company, Swag Cave. That link is in the podcast description. Until next time, I'm Dan Casper, and I will talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.